Hi, my lovies. It's Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast. Today we'll be talking about magic in the land of China. There's a lot of, mysticism and folklore throughout the Middle East. We focused on Islam and Egyptian magic on the last episode, and how we're going to be moving a little bit more Eastern to China, and giving, the ideas and, practices of that particular culture. So please like, share, follow, and subscribe to this channel. This episode is going to be rather short. Just given a lot of the information that we know already about the land of China, right? It's one of the most populated places on the planet, of over 2 billion people who live there, because, the land is peaceful and beautiful and it's rich. It's, communist, obviously, but people tend to be happier living in China. Dating back to about the 1600s, the Qing dynasty, which is pronounced, or which is actually spelled Qing, the Qing dynasty, which lasted 1644 to 1911. There were some laws and some codes against witchcraft. First, to give you some background about how they think of witchcraft during that time, was that if you were involved in any type of spiritual work or witchcraft, you were from a low sector of society. You were very poor, you were very ignorant, you were very outcasted, you were not a mainstream person, you did not work a fulfilling or even meaningful job. You really were just basically begging for attention if you happen to be a part of any type of Wicca or witchcraft. They really saw it as a really low form of culture, a low culture, supposedly, so to speak, like a low form of employment, so to speak. And you were a person that probably did not get very good employment. They had a lot of low opinions of witchcraft. However, the law that they had was that if you were suspected, or you even bragged about it, and you were able to cause a person harm due to witchcraft, you actually would go to jail. If you caused them to be sick, if you caused them to lose their wealth, if you caused someone's marriage to break up, you would actually be jailed. They believe in this thing called the coup in China, which basically is a spirit or spirits, spirits for sorcery, spirits for witchcraft, for the coup and come and get you, or to have a coup of people against you, like a clan, so to speak. They have another thing called, if I can pronounce it right, Jiao Sun, which is considered to be soul stealing. Not just stealing physical possessions, but almost making somebody lose their mind, which would be a form of, witchcraft or sorcery, that you cause them to lose their mind, or you have sent demonic spirits their way, or if they complained about having nightmares after offending you, because witchcraft was almost like gang violence back in these days. Anyway, during the Qing dynasty, there was a thing called the Qing Code. The Qing Code is that witchcraft is punishable nearly to the extent of your offense. So if you were to cause someone's marriage to break up, you would be jailed for like 6 months, or you'd be forced to basically reverse the spell. Otherwise, you would stay in jail, and you would stay in jail until the curse was reversed, until they were showing results of it being reversed. So you really could not get away with harming anyone during this Qing dynasty by any means, by physical means, social means, or even by witchcraft. They were very hip to the idea that people could commit witchcraft as a crime or as a means to harm people. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with Chinese or Eastern Asian superstitions, you guys would be familiar with feng shui, about, putting your furniture, colors in your home, certain types of textures in your home, windows, doors, mirrors, and etc., in order to bring in wealth, wellness, to live your best life, to have a more positive attitude. They consider that to be like magic, magic mixed with science, mixed with a lot of psychological, benefits and psychological grooming, or just, psychological discipline, to keep you, in a positive mindset, and to be mindful of your space, that all your spaces that you inhabit are to be mindfully prosperous. You're supposed to be in spaces that are going to make you prosperous. So feng shui is very, very popular in, Eastern Asian culture. Another superstitious form of sorcery or protection in Chinese culture would be bakwa. It would be these mirrors that you would put up to ward off demonic spirits, evil spirits, diabolicals, to keep them out of your space, that if they were to come near you, they would then float into these mirrors and going back into their world. Or the opposite would happen. They would see the mirror and then it'd be reflected back. Whatever they're trying to send you would then be sent back to them. There's another way there's divination, and one of the oldest divination tools used is called wugu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is bone reading. You find this during the same time as the Sumerian culture was, in fact, developing. Sumerian culture is just as old as East Asian culture, so it goes back a ways. That they would read bones, just like casting bones now in Wiccan and Norse pagan cultures. In East Asia, they would actually read turtle shell bones, mostly because turtle shell bones were very, very big. You can divide them up. If you were to look at turtle shell bones, they're actually like puzzle pieces where you could actually break them into, individual pieces. And also turtles were very much available to people. Okay, so it was easy to get your hands on turtle bones, especially to use them for divination. Turtle bones in general are in fact very beautiful. They have patterns on them, so it's not like they had to make them or sculpt them. And turtles were considered a sacred animal, or they still are actually in East Asian culture. Very peaceful, very slow moving, very practical animal. It represents peace, it represents slow moving, and basically represents not to stress yourself out in life at all. That to be like the turtle is to live very long, especially if you take forever to do everything. Another form of divination that did begin in Middle Eastern Asia is tea leaf reading, because tea is highly and heavily popular in China. Okay, and tea leaf reading for divination, to see the future, to see the past, to see your present situation, to understand energy, to understand, just who you are, your truth and all that, comes from reading tea leaves. You put the leaves in your tea, you drink it, and wherever they fall, wherever they get sucked to the cup, whether it's the cup or the tray, or even if they were to be casted after drinking the tea, would definitely tell you about your future, or about anything that you're trying to know. It would show pictures of faces. It could be demons, spirits, angels. It could be ancestors. They had a really good, very in-depth way of reading tea leaves as a form of divination. But that's all I have for today for you lovies. I was hoping to make a longer episode, but I am quite tired. However, you can like, share, follow, and subscribe for a part 2. I could possibly come out with that as early as Friday morning, and we can talk more about witchcraft and superstitions in the land of China. So please, this is Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast. Please shout out your ideas, your thoughts, and what you think I might have left out besides everything. Just give me an idea of what you would like to hear on this podcast, and we'll sit down and we'll definitely talk about it. All right, lovies. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye.